नमो ब्रह्मादिभ्यो ब्रह्मविद्या संप्रदायकर्तृभ्यो वंशऋषिभ्यो महद्भ्यो नमो गुरुभ्यः सदाशिवसमारम्भाम् शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्ताम् वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम् श्रुतिस्मृतिपुराणानाम् आलयम् करुणालयम् नमामि भगवत्पाद शङ्करम् लोकशङ्करम् शङ्करम् शङ्कराचार्यम् केशवम् बादरायणम् सूत्रभाष्यकृतौ वन्दे भगवन्तौ पुनः पुनः ईश्वरो गुरुरात्मेति मूर्तिभेदविभागिने व्योमवद्व्याप्तदेहाय दक्षिणामूर्तये नमः। ॐ श्री दक्षिणामूर्तये नमः। शान्तिमन्त्रम्। ॐ वाङ्मे मनसि प्रतिष्ठिता मनो मे वाचि प्रतिष्ठितम् आविराविर्मयेति वेदस्य म आणीस्तः श्रुतम् मे मा प्रहासीः अनेनाधीतेनाहोरात्रान् सन्ददामि ऋतम् वदिष्यामि सत्यम् वदिष्यामि तन्मामवतु तद्वक्तारमवतु अवतु माम् अवतु वक्तारम् Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. So in the last class we saw the dialogue commencing from between the Vedantis or the Siddhanta Paksha and the Purva Paksha, which is the opponent. The opponent is not really an opponent of the philosophy, but he is like all of us who has certain ideas and certain knowledge about this one, but his knowledge is based on the fact that he thinks that there are three Atmas. That is the Paramatma or Karana Brahman, or then the Ishvara or Hiranyagarbha, which is the Karya Brahman, and then the Jivatma, which is the individual souls. So he thinks that there are really three Atmas, and that is what his stand is. So to know that, Acharya Shankara, he asks, how do you know that Jivatma? So he says by inference. So inference, how can you infer about the one who is doing inference? That was the word the Shankara is leading the opponent to. But to do that, he is asking, Yavata yada Shrunoti Atma Shrotavyam Shabdam. That is when Atma is listening to the sound, so he is only listening. Tada tasya Shravana Kriya eva Vartamanatvad Manana Vijnana Kriye na Sambhavata Atmani va Paratra. Tasya, the one who is doing the Shravanam or the listening, Tasya Shravana Kriya eva. The very act of his listening, when it is existing, Vartamanatvad, Manana Vijnana Kriya na Sambhavata, is prohibiting the thinking and knowing aspects, because mind can do only one thing at a time. Atmani va paratra, either by himself or anyatra, otherwise. Tada anyatra vi mananadi kriyasu. Same is the case when the mind is, or when the action of, he is thinking, he can only think. He is seeing, he can only see. He is touching, he is sensing the touch, he can only do that like that. Shravanadi kriyaha cha svavishayeshu eva. All the sensory inputs which referred here, like Shravanadi, means Shabda Sparsha Rasa Rupa Gandha Vishayeshu. means the objects of the sense organs. Only in that the activity of the hearing, seeing, etc. can happen. Nahi mandavyad anyatra mandu manana kriya sambhavati. Mandavyad anyatra, because he is thinking, mantuhu, the one who is thinking, manana kriya na sambhavati. When he is thinking about the object, he cannot do the thinking about the one who is thinking. Or when he is listening to the sound, that mind, that person cannot think simultaneously about the thinker who is listening the sound. So the opponent is asking, Nanu manasaha sarvameva mantavyam. The mind, is it not capable of doing everything? Mind is known to be very potent and capable of doing multi activities, but not the same time. So Shankara says that Satyam eva. It may think so, you may think it is true. Tadapi sarvam api mantavyam mandara mandarena na mandum shakyam. See, the problem is that the thinkable can never be thought about without the thinker. That is the problem here we have. That is, we have to understand that here the opponent is not able to understand the role of Atma, the role of mind, and the role of objects connected through sense organs. For him, the mind is everything. Mind is the one which is listening, mind is the one which is thinking, mind is the one which is smelling. Everything is the mind, because for him, the mind, when in touch with the objects of senses through the sense organs, it is the one which is doing the act of seeing, touching, smelling, etc., including the internal activities like thinking and, calling from memory, etc. So he now got confused when Shankaracharya said that the thinkable can never be thought about without the thinker. That means the thinking activity of the mind, is it separate from the thinker? So he is asking, Yadi evam kim syad? Okay, what is that how do you explain that? Or he is accepting it, what Shankara is saying. He is also understanding that the thinkable, no thinkable can be thought of without the thinker, means that thinker is separate from the mind. Even though he has some idea about it, which he will be referring to later, he is now asking Shankara, what is that you are talking about? So Acharya says that idam syad, idam atra syad, sarvasya ayam manda sa manda eva iti, saha mandavya na syad. For everyone, yaha manta, ayam manta, when he is the thinker, saha mandavya eti, that time he is simply the thinker alone. saha na mandavya syat. The thinker can never become an object of thinking. Na cha dvitiyaha mandhuhu manda asti. Also, cha means also, dvitiyaha manta. Second thinker of the thinker is not there. That is, the thinker, when he is doing thinking, will not be known as a thinker because there is no second thinker to know this thinker, the first thinker. Yada saha atmana eva mantavyaha. Tada yena cha mantavyaha atmana yaha cha mandavya atma tau dau prasajyeta. Now, listen carefully. Yada saha atmana eva mantavya. He can be thought about mantavya becomes atmana eva. He by himself. Tada, when it happens, yena cha mandavya atmana, then the self thinking about the self, yahacha mandavya atma, now then there is a one as an object and one as a subject. Atmana, atma, then mandavya atma. So there are three which we have to consider. There's the one as a subject, one as an object, and the act of doing the thinking. Therefore, one Atma itself, tau dau prasajyeta. Then you have to consider there are two Atmas. One becomes the subject and one becomes the object. Eka eva Atma dvita mantuhum mantra mandavya tvena dvishakali bhavet vamshadivat. One Atma, we know that for every body there is only one Atma. Actually, there is only one Atma. For here, just because we are now considering this thinker, listener, etc., so we'll restrict it to the body. So, eka eva atma dvita, one self in the body, dvita becomes two, mantra mandavya tvena, the subject and the object. Dvishakali bhaved vamsyadivat. Like a reed or a bamboo being split into two, then you say there are two bamboos. Actually speaking, there is only one bamboo which has been split it into two. But we say that there are two reeds now. Same way the Atma becomes mantra, one who thinks, and mantavya, the object of thinking. Ubhayatha api anubhavatireva. In either case, anubhavati means illogical. This becomes illogical. There is no way we can split it into two. Yada pratipayoho prakashya prakashakatva anubhavati samatvad tadvat. Now, assume there are two lamps. The two lamps are shining. So the one lamp is giving light and the other lamp is also giving light. So which one will you say which is shining, which one? Because the lamp by itself has got the potency to give out light. You don't need a second lamp to know there is a lamp. Any other object you can show through lamp or the light of the lamp. But to show a lamp which is burning, you don't need a second lamp. Therefore, there same way that anubhapatti means this becomes illogically attainable, samatvat, because both of them are equal. You cannot say which one is lighting both. Both are independently having the potency to show its own light. Nacha mantuhu mantavye manana vyapara shunyaha kale asya atmana asya atma mananaya. Again, mantu mantavye manana vyapara shunyaha. Asya atmana mananaya. So to think about the Atma without mantu mantavye manana vyapara shunya. That is that the same Atma which is thought of and the other one which is being thinking, both are now in the same period. That is in you cannot say that, it is split it into two or there are two Atmas. Both are not available. Therefore, mantu mantavya, the subject and the object. For there are two things, manana vyapara shunya, cannot be happening if there are two, then there will be a regression. I mean, you have an infinite situation there. Then who becomes the thinker for that Atma will come. So, kale asya atmana mananaya. So, for thinking about this or inferring about this Atma, in the same period, you cannot have two Atma. Yadapi lingena atmanam manute manda tadapi purvavat eva lingena mantavya atma yascha tasya manta tau dvau prasijyetam eka eva va dveti purvokta doshaha. So now what happened is that even assuming that there are thinking of the self using linga, like, linga means inference. Here it is referring to the inference aspect of it. By seeing the smoke, when we are seeing that fire is inferred. Same way, tada purvavadeva lingena mandavya atma yascha tasya manta. There is a thinker of Atma, and there is that Atma becomes the object for thinking also, can never happen, and that will necessitate for tau dvau prasijyedam, that Atma need to be two in nature, either split into two or two separate Atma. But eka eva va dveti purvokta doshaha. So the same cannot become the split into two or two separate Atma in the one body. So this is what he refers to as the dosha. So what the objection is, the Purvapakshi is saying, right? Na pratyakshena napi anumanena jayate chet katam uchyate sa mama atmedi vidyat iti katam va shrota manda ityadi. Now, if you are saying that na pratyakshena, neither by the direct perception, napi anumanena, neither by the inference, jayade chet, nyayade chet. If we cannot know, then how does the Kaushitiki Upanishad in beginning in the same Rigveda says kadam uchyate, or why, how does it say that sa mama atmedi vidyat, know that as your atma iti katam va shrota manda ityadi. Then how are you calling it shrota manda? That because to know atmedi vidya, there has to be somebody listening to that, then there has to be somebody thinking about that. Then only you can say that Atma, this is that he is to be known as my Atma. So Acharya is asking, Nanu Srotrutwadi Dharmavan Atma Ashrotrutwadi cha Prasiddham Atmanaha Kimatra Vishamam Pashyasi. Why are you seeing the difficulty here? Is it not true? Is it not that Atma is possessed of the quality of hearing? Shrotritvadi Dharmavan Atma. It is Atma, Shrotrasya Shrotram. So he is the one, he is listening. Ashrotritvadi cha Prasiddham. Na Shrota, na Manda. That we heard that from the Brihadaranya Upanishad. He is neither the hearer nor the thinker. So in this one, Kimatra Bhishmam Pashyasi. Why are you seeing the difficulty in this to understand the Upanishad words? That which is very, very clear about, So the Purvapakshi or the student is saying that Yadyapi tava na vishamam tatapi mamatu vishamam pradibadi. It may not be difficult for you, Acharya, but for me, it looks like very difficult. I am not able to understand. The typical standard, standard answer by the student who has not understood that thing is that, sir, you feel it is very easy for you, but for me it is very difficult. That is the way in which he is saying that. So the Acharya is asking, how do you say that it is difficult for you? Then he is saying, what is the difficulty in understanding? Yada asau shrota tada na manta, yada manta tada na shrota. Okay, here, when he is a shrota, when he is a listener, he tada na manta, then he is not a thinker. Yada manta tada na shrota. When he is thinking, he is not a listener. Tatra evam sati pakshe shrota manta, pakshe na shrota na api manta. Tadapi anyatra cha. So, here what is the situation is that pakshe shrota manta. If you one side he is a shrota manta, he is a listener, he is a thinker. Pakshe na shrota api cha manta. But in the other side, at the same time, he is neither the listener nor the thinker. Just as this is the case, anyatra apicha. It is the same the case whether it is not in other sense organs situation also, like the seeing, touching, smelling, etc. Yadi evam tada shrotritvadi dharmavan atma ashrotritvadi dharmavan iti samshayastane katam tava na vaishamyam. If that is the case, Srotritvadi dharmavan atma, ashrutvadi anma satmavan atma. Idi samshayastane. The place where we are having now the confusion, there both the situation is simultaneous. He is a listener, at the same time he is not listener. How come you say, sir, you don't have a confusion in that one? Vaishamyam. Yada devadatta gacchati tada na stada ganda eva. Yada tishtati na ganda stada eva. Tasya tada asya pakshaha eva gandritvam stadritvam cha. Na nityam gandritvam stadritvam va tadvat. Now he is giving an example. The student is giving an example. The Devadatta, at the time when he is moving, he is not stationary. Yada Devadatta gacchati tada na stada. So he is not stationary when he is moving. Ganda eva. He is in motion. Yada tishtati, when he is standing, tada na ganda. When he is standing or stationary, he is not moving. Stada eva. He is stationary alone. Tada asya pakshe evam gandritvam sadritvam cha. This is the confusion, or this is the place of confusion where whether he is in motion or whether he is in stationary. Cha nityam gandritvam sadritvam va tadvat. Or is he eternally in motion or eternally in stationary? This is the confusion in the current situation. Tata eva atra kanadayaha pashyanti. Now he is referring to the Vaisheshika school or the logicians who are considering that Atma as a dravyam. Dravyam means matter, which has got qualities. So what does it pashyanti? Tatra eva kanadaya pashyanti. What is that kanadaya? Kanadaya means, like the logicians see, paksha praptena eva sotrittvadina atma uchyate shrota manta ityadi vachanat. So during the period when that is when he is pakshe praptena eva shrotittvadina atma uchyate. They say that the knowledge of the product or the sotrittvadi atma uchyate, because what is happening, the contact paksha praptena eva, that is in one side you have the atma, mind and the object. So shrota mantra ityadi vajanat. In the other places what happens is that when he is a thinker, the mind and the atma becomes the object and becomes the thinker in the next moment, because the Kanadaya think that Atma is atomic in nature and can travel very fast. Samyogaja tvam yaugapatyam cha jnanasya hi cha anasya achakshate. Samyogajam means by contact. Yaugapatyam means instantaneous. These are the two qualities which Kanadaya has, or the logicians are considering as the quality for Atma. Jnanasya cha akshachakshase. So when the contact is happening, that is simultaneously the Atma can contact the mind and the object through the ears, and the mind can immediately also contact the Atma, because samyoga, Atma mana samyoga is the condition under which it is remaining. That is, always mind and Atma is in connection. Therefore, mind and Atma, if that object is in contact with the mind through the sense organ, it is instantaneously touching the Atma also. This is the idea of the logicians. Darshayanti cha anyatra atmana anyatra mana abhuvam na adarsham ityadi yugapat jnana utpattihi manasaha lingamiti cha nyayam. So here they what is that this, what are they showing? Darshayanti anyatra manaha abhuvam na adarsham ityadi yugapat jnana utpatti manasaha lingamiti cha nyayam. So what happens is that the knowledge which is happening when it is in the inference level, it is the contact of the mind which is inferring by contacting the Atma. So therefore the mind feels the Atma become the object. When otherwise, at the same time, the mind and the Atma is eternally in contact. That is samyogajam and yogabadyam. That is the qualities of Atma and Manas. Therefore, the mind, when objectifies the Atma, is also knowing that Atma is the same Atma is knowing itself as subject also. This is what the logicians are saying because of the quality of Atma. Atma being an object or a matter has got the quality of instantaneous contact and with the mind. That is why Bhavatyevam kim tava nashtam yadyevam syad. So he is asking now, why not we accept that stand of what the logicians are saying, that inferring the existence of the mind? What are you going to lose if you accept the Nyaya Paksha or Vaisheshika Paksha? Asti evam tava ishtam chet shrutyarthastu na sambhavati. He is saying that let it be so. It may appear to be logical and it may be, appeasing you and looking like you got an answer for. But at the same time, what is that it is not in line with the Shruti. It is contradictory to the Upanishad. Kim na shrota manta ityadi shruti arthaha. Is it not implied in the Upanishad that the self is the hearer and the thinker? It is the question which the student or the opponent is asking. So, na shrota, na manda ityadi vachanat. Because the Upanishad is simultaneously saying, when it is the manta and shrota, when it is the listener and the thinker, it is also not the thinker and the listener. Is also statement from the Upanishad. It is just simultaneously Upanishad is also making this statement. Was not that the position denied by you by saying that it is not occasionally so? Here, nanu pakshigatvena prayuktam tvaya na nityameva shrotrittvadi yugavad abhyupagamat nahi shrotruhu shrutehe vipirilopo vidyate ityadi shrutehe. So, the opponent said, Nadu Pakshigatvena Prayuktam Tvaya. That is what you did. Your opening statement when I said the Atma is inferred. You refuted me by saying that, Atma is not possible to be inferred. No. He is saying that what the Acharya is saying, no. It is not that what I said. What I said is that nityameva shrotritva adi abhyugumat nahi shrotruhu shrutehe vipirilopo vidyate avinashitvad iti brihadaranya shrutehe. Now, the self is accepted as eternal here. Nitya srotrutva, nityameva. Nityam, how does it? Because the Shruti Vakya, the Brihadaranya Upanishad statement is saying that nahi shrotuhu, mean the one who is a listener, shrutehe viparilopo na vidyate. The diminishing or the decaying act or the destruction of shrutehe means the act of listening, act of function of hearing or act of listening. Viparilopo can never be lost or can never be destroyed because avinashitvad. Atma is avinashi. Atma is eternal. And Atma is the shrotuhu. And mind is not the shrotu as per the Upanishad. Mind is only an instrument. Like the ears and the eyes are the instrument, mind is also an instrument. Atma is the listener, thinker, etc. And Atma is nityaha, is eternal. Therefore, shrotuhu Atma, shrotuhu means here Atma. Shrutehe viparilopo na vidyate avinashitvat. So the act of hearing is never lost because Atma is nityaha. Evam tarhi, then the objection comes again. Evam tarhi, nityameva shrotritwadi abhyugame pratyaksha viridva yugavat jnanotpatti ajnana abhava cha atmanaha kalpitaha syat tatcha anishtamiti. He is saying something which is not acceptable to him. What is that? If the view is that eternal hearing is admitted, now we are saying that nitya na viparilopo vidyate avinashitvad. There will be simultaneous happening of all inputs happening. That means the Atma is the same time the listener, the seer, the toucher, the sense smeller, the taster, everything is in Atma. So simultaneously, all knowledge should happen in the Atma because Atma is Avinashi, is an eternal thing. And it is a contradicting our experience because when we are seeing, we are not listening. When we are listening, we are not seeing. Likewise, all the sense organs. And this will lead to the assumption, the absence of ignorance in the self. Now, there is also a study of philosophy which we said that there is avidya in Atma because of which Atma is now Jivatma. Because we should not forget that this opening statement is that there are three Atma. Jivatma, Ishvara and Paramatma. So he is now holding on to that Jivatma is the listener, hearer, etc. everything. So the Jivatma has become Jivatma because of the avidya in the Jivatma. Therefore, it is unacceptable because the ignorance cannot be in the self because Atma is Nitya. So now Shankaracharya is going for a long explanation. Listen to this. Na ubhaya dosha upapattihi atmanaha Shrutyadi, Shrotratvadi, Dharmavat Shrutehe. Neither of the defects arises since, according to the Upanishad, the self can become the hearer through its inherent power of hearing, etc. Now, Shruti Adi, Shrotratvadi Dharmavan Shrutehe. So, Atma is considered to be eternal and a listener. Therefore, both these defects which you are saying, that avidya cannot be there in Atma and simultaneous listening, hearing, etc. will happen. Anityanam murtanam cha chakshuradinam drishyadi nityam eva samyoga viyoga yoga dharminam. Now, what happened? The seeing, etc., by the organs of sense organs, which are by the gross eyes, gross ears, etc., are subject to the mind in contact with the sense organ. And therefore, their activities are impermanent or momentary in nature. Only when samyoga takes place of the mind, the sound is heard. Otherwise, the sound may come to your ears, but if your mind is not in contact with the ears, the sound is not heard by the mind and the mind doesn't recognize. Same is the case with the vision. Now we will come to this vision into details. Is used for explaining the permanency and impermanency of organs. So, even though the Atma is Nityaha and is the listener, hearer, everything, it is in the Atma, which is the Upanishad is saying Atma is the listener. At the same time, Atma is not the listener. Both are being so told by the Upanishad, and this is creating confusion. Now, Acharya is saying that all these dharmas, which is of listening, etc., are because of the mind contact with the organs of senses. Atma is Nityaha. Yatha, now he is giving an example. Agner jwalanam trinadi samyogajatvat tadvat. The example is that there is a campfire going on. Now the burning happens only to those grass which are coming in contact with the fire. The grass which is outside the vicinity of the fire is not burnt. Tadvat, like that, means when the mind is, even though is receiving the input from the ears or the eyes, the mind should be in contact with Atma to acknowledge that knowing happening. Therefore, the knowing is not happening in the Atma and in the mind. It is the presence of Atma in the mind which is giving rise to the knowledge of knowing in the mind. Now, in the today's example, in the modern example, if I have to say that, electricity is there in the bulb. But the bulb to burn the electricity should go between the terminals for the bulb to burn. Now, if there is no contact between the terminals, the bulb will not burn. Even though electricity is coming all the way up to the tip of one of the terminal, the other terminal contact is not happening. Therefore, there is no light burning. The circuit is not complete. The fire is burning. It is eternal fire. The Atma, like the Atma is eternal, the fire is eternal. But the grass will not burn unless it is in contact with the fire. Same way. Natu nityasya amurtasya asamyoga vibhaga dharminaha samyogaja drishyadi anitya dharmatvam sambhavati. The nityasya amurtasya samyoga vibhaga dharminaha. That is the amurta means impermanent nature of the sense organs is one which is coming in contact and disjoining is the nature of them. Samyogaja drishyadi nitya dharmatvam sambhavati. Nityadi anitya dharmatvam sambhavati. Therefore, the happening of the feeling that the Atma is Nitya, therefore Nitya, the word should be happening Nityatvam, or the hearing should happen permanently, the seeing should happen permanently, is not happening because it is the nature of the sense organ through the mind which is impermanent, not the eternity of the Atma. Atma is ever present. But the mind, whether it is in connecting with Atma or not, through even though the sense organs are in touch or feeding into the mind, this na sambhavati, natu sambhavati. This is not happening. Therefore, there is no eternal happening. Therefore, no simultaneous listening, hearing, etc. Tadacha Shruti, that is exactly what when the Shruti says by the 23rd mantra, Nahi drishtuhu drishte viparilopo na vidyate avinashitvad. When the vision of the witness can never be lost because the real witness or the real viewer is Atma, which is eternal in nature. And from this follows that there are two kinds of vision taking place. That is the most important aspect. What is that? How does it say? Evam tarhi dve drishti chakshushaha anitya drishti nityacha atmanaha. So, the vision, what we are talking about, is at two levels. One is at the level of the sense organs and the mind, and one is at the level of Atma. Evam tarhi dve drishti, two vision. Chakshusha anitya drishti. With the eyes, there is an impermanent vision. With the chakshusha means the eyeball is not the one which is referring to. Here the chakshu means the indriya, not chakshu golakam. Chakshu means the sense organ of vision which is residing in the mind. When in using the tool of the eyeball is the one which is seeing. That is anitya, is impermanent in nature. And nitya is atmanaha. At the same time, the witnessing nature of Atma or the vision of Atma or as a witness, whether it is seeing, touching, sensing, feeling or anything like that, everything comes under the witness, vision of Atma. That is eternal in nature. That is always present. Na viparilopo vidyate. That is never lost. Tadacha dve shruti shrotasya anityaha nityacha atma surupasya. So, the shruti is talking about two kinds of vision. That is, one is at the level of the self, which is eternal in nature, and one is at the sense organ level, which is transient or impermanent in nature. Same is the case, tadacha dve madi vitnyati bahya abahyo. Same way, two sides of knowing, external and internal. The external knowing is knowing about things which is outside the mind, outside the Atma, which includes the feelings, thoughts and everything, including sense organs. And there is a abahya, means which is knowing at the Atma's level, which Atma is always knowing. But at the same time, when it doesn't happen in the mind, the Atma is present, but there is no happiness in the mind, means Atma is not knowing the happiness. When there is sorrow in the mind, Atma will know the sorrow. When the vision is happening at the mind level, the vision is seen by the Atma. When the mind is not engaged with the eyeball, even the eyeball is receiving the light, the mind is not seeing the sense organ of the eye is not in operation. Therefore, mind is not recording the vision. Therefore, Atma is not seeing the vision. Evam hi evam cha ayam shrutihi upapanna bhavati. Drishte drishto shrutehe shrota ityadya. Therefore, Shruti, now this is the place where the Vedic text is, or the Shruti is very clearly saying the seer of the seeing and the hearer of the hearing. This is again Brihadaranya 3:4-2 becomes justifiable. So he is simultaneously, he is the hearer of the hearing, he is seeing of the seer. At the same time, he is neither the seerer nor the hearer, because he is a anitya, he is a nitya and is not getting diminished in any way. Now, at this stage, I will stop because the explanation now takes to the next level, next aspect of it. That is how the Atma is not the witness and at the same time the witness, which we will do it in the next Wednesday's class. So, this place where I am going to stop, you can note down, those who are following the Sanskrit testing. Evam hi evam cha ayam shrutihi upapanna bhavati drishter drishto drishta shrute shrota ityadyaha. That is the Brihadaranya Upanishad 3:4-2 mantra. So we will do from here next week. Om Vangme manasi pratishtita manome vacha pratishtitam Aviravirmayedi Vedasya ma'anistaha Shrutam me ma prahasihi Anenadhitena horatran sandatami Ritam vadishyami Satyam vadishyami Tanmamavadu Tadvaktaramavadu avadu mam, avadu vaktaram, avadu vaktaram. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vasishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om. Shri Guru Bhyo Namaha. Harihi Om. Thank you. Dhanyavada.